Hello, this is Lisa Russick.
And Misty Lore.
With the podcast, We're All Psychic, and we have a freaking fantastic guest today. His name is Tony. And Tony, would you like to say hello?
Hello. Hi, ladies. Thanks so much for having me on.
We are happy to have you. I think Misty has a very serious question to ask you now, Tony.
I do, Tony. Do you believe that we're all psychic?
Oof, my God. Yes.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do you believe this?
Well, the word psychic, I've often said this to my own groups. I wonder whether eventually we'll find it rather more outdated, inasmuch that we in this field, we often talk about psychic and mediumship and seership as separate things. And really, it's all about the oneness of our soul's knowing. So I do believe that we are incarnate soul beings lent to the world for a short amount of time. And I think if I were to read for a normal client and I knew their mother had passed, it's because my soul would know that. But I also knew that they were going to find a new boyfriend or buy a dog or advance with their studies. My soul would know that. And so I think really most people, all people in the world are soul beings incarnate. But I think so many people are sleepwalking in the world too. Mm-hmm. And so that natural ability to feel things, know things, see things, react to an inner knowing is often lost to them because they become so utterly immersed in their own human selves. So to answer your question, yes, I do think we are all psychic. And I think lots of people are unable to respond to that because they are, again, one more time, lost in their human's experience.
I like the way you put that. Well said.
I put that too, lost in their human experience. Yeah.
Because we all are.
I've never asked anybody this on the podcast, and you just make me want to ask it. What do you think your soul is? What do you think our souls are? Because it's true. It is our souls doing this communicating and knowing. Well, what is our soul, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think we are. See, I'm going to say more things that maybe may not make so much more sense, but I think we are eternal light beings on a journey through many lifetimes. I think these lifetimes sometimes are upon the earth and sometimes in other worlds in the universe too. So I not only think we're soul beings, I think we're actually light beings lent to the world. What does it look like? What does it feel like? I'm not so sure. But I think that the power in you and I, the power in everybody else, manifests through our experience in the world. And when it's beautiful and when it's good and when we triumph and when we overcome, that's a testament to the light in us. I think these arms and legs and bodies that we have are temporary things. And I think the vehicle of the body is really important because it's our anchor to the earth. But I can no longer look at myself in the mirror and almost judge myself as me, because I just say, thank you, body, for holding me here a little longer.
I like that.
It did make a big difference to be appreciative towards our bodies. They will be more cooperative with us in so many ways. When I have allergy reactions, I can sometimes use Reiki, work with Reiki. And what I do is I'll tell my cells, I have mast cell activation that happens sometimes. And I just kind of tell them, thank you for helping me and not, being aware that there may be a threat here, but there isn't one. And I'll tell them that. And I don't know what mast cells are, but I'll imagine it. And I'll, really connect with that energy. And I'll tell these cells, there's no threat, but thank you. We'll be like, I'm mad at you for activating. I'll tell it, thank you for being so upfront and letting me know there could be one. And I'm telling you there's not one. And usually they'll stop. It's very interesting how the body does react to what we want. We can heal our bodies sometimes like that. And it takes a long time, I think, for some people to learn how to do that. It's a thing that a lot of people have taught us on the podcast. We've had a lot of people teach us that. It's been very cool. So what kind of I've read in your biography that you've been on TV and you've done a lot of demonstrations of mediumship, listeners and watchers. I don't know this is audio only. I'm sorry, it's audio only. And well, so tell us about you. How did you grow up? Were you around this kind of metaphysical belief systems when you were younger, or is this something you developed on your own?
Well, I developed over a long period of time. So I was just 16 years of age when I went along to my very first meeting. But I took to it like a duck to water. I used to go every single week to this meeting place, this little community hall, which was very near where I lived, luckily enough. And within 2 years of development, I was then demonstrating mediumship in halls. So I was a bit of a phenomenon because I was so very young.
Yeah.
Yeah. So say again, sorry.
Was that weird for you, or was it comfortable? I mean, how did you feel about it?
Oh, no, I remember being terrified quite a lot, really. But I think I was terrified of humans, not of the spirit world or the psychic world at all. But it's a long time ago. I was just saying to my group this yesterday, I've been in development for 39 years now. And so I still very much feel I'm in development because I'm, God willing, learning all the time. But I've been working, publicly for probably 36 of those years. It all goes so fast, Richard, probably 37 of those years now. And, I've been very lucky. I've been everywhere, I've been to the States many times. I've been to Australia loads, across Europe. I've traveled to one places, taking groups to India and Egypt. But I'm well known here in the UK, and this is my home, just outside of London, So, but I work every day, readings, mentoring people, offering different classes on anything from shamanic mediumship to platform presentation and therapeutic mediumship. Yeah.
I have a question. Do you think we're all mediums? I do believe that most people have the capacity. I think everybody can if they work on it. At least evidential mediumship, if not, actively communicating with spirits. I think that people can be taught this or teach themselves personally. What do you think?
In the same way, are we all psychic? Are we all mediumistic? Well, on a soul level, I think certainly if we are all living soul beings, then of course we're going to be very aware of the other soul beings on that level. But when we're awake, working, doing the kids, looking after your parents, we may be very unaware of that other level of communication that goes on. But, I've met a lot of people non-mediumistically, as mediumistic rather, essentially, but they've had wonderful encounters. So I think the potential is sure. We can all feel things, but, you've got to want to recognize the feelings as something phenomenal, as opposed to putting it down to eating too much cheese. Because I think sometimes some people would feel spirit, know spirit, and they would never want to admit it because they're in their fear. They're in their logical mind.
Absolutely.
But for those who are open, it's such a fabulous path, isn't it? What else are we going to do with our lives other than to want to keep reaching out and defying our human limitations, rather?
I agree with you. It just gives life so much more meaning, and I don't know, maybe not everybody wants a meaning in their life or searches for a meaning, but I love it. I love trying to figure out the mysteries. It's not fun to just not have any mystery in life, to not have any depth to it other than what we see, taste, smell, hear, and see, supposedly, as the typical way of things being, to what our culture considers the typical way of being, Western culture. And so did you always speak with spirits all your life? Were you born that way, or did you learn it as you got older?
I think I was very much born that way. My mum would say I was the weirdest child from time to time. In other ways, the most normal child, but I would definitely feel things, know things. I felt my grandfather who passed, and I would see things in the corner of my eye for many years.
Did you know that you were maybe different than other people because of that they weren't working the same way you were?
Well, that's an interesting question, but I don't know if I always thought different, but I think I learned to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
Because I knew of the responses that I'd get at times, so people would look at me strange. When I was still very young, so I was born in London and lived in London until I was about 4, but and then we moved out of London into the neighbouring county. But when I was in London, I remember being in my cot, and it's such a strong memory of my mum putting me to bed and giving me a kiss, and then I would wait for my other mum, who never existed. And then there's this image of a lady in white with golden hair that would come to say goodnight to me. And then I encountered her in a hypnosis session when I was 19. And I remember calling her mother, but she looked like this beautiful Grecian woman, but a mother from another life, a soul mother.
Yeah.
I don't know. I told my mum, I think she felt quite jealous. But yeah, but it was a phenomenal thing. But whether other people have these feelings, or if maybe they have them but they've suppressed them or put them down as something like make believe or dream. But I think ladies, you'll recognize this, but if you're born remembering and the world allows you to believe in that which you remember, then I think that's the great blessing.
That's a really good way to put it.
It is. Yeah.
You have a really good way of freezing things that are unexplainable. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but you have a good way of putting things that is very accessible to most. I imagine that's why you're such a good teacher and you have so many students like that. What is your favorite part of your work?
Well, it's very diverse at the moment. So I still have a theatre tour. So I still, stand on stage and present evidential mediumship, but increasingly I'm asked to talk at different events. So I like to talk, I like to demonstrate. I love to teach. So I've just finished a Star Beings program prior to speaking with yourself. I find that's utterly fascinating. I've had encounters with other soul beings that you cannot see.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like diversity, I think.
Well, how did that go? Tell us about that.
About that. I would love to hear about that. I'm starting to, it's just in the past couple of years, I've had experiences with guides or alien. They say extraterrestrial is what they prefer to be called, but they're just around. They don't do anything to say anything. They're just kind of around watching, as far as I can tell. Tell us what you know. We got to fill us in.
Yeah, well, firstly, when I was a child, I think maybe I was 8 and my sister must have been about 11. It was dark. It was in the winter. It was in the late 1970s, early 80s. And we were walking home from the shops. My parents had sent us out to grab something. And it was cold. It was dark. And as we neared our home, there was a craft in the sky. And all of the neighbors were out. It wasn't just children, adults were out pointing up at the sky. I remember some lady being shocked and running inside, a little bit upset. But it was just like an enormous thing in the sky. Days later, the RAF, with the Royal Air Force, said it was a helium balloon, but it was not a helium balloon. It's huge. We were almost convinced it was something phenomenal. I can remember seeing that, but I don't remember going home. And that's a true story. My sister had the same experience. And so since then, I've always been utterly fascinated. But I'm also a trance medium. I was given a trance demonstration in one of the big colleges here. And during the trance demonstration, usually a soul being called Zintar will come through and speak, give messages, sometimes transfigure. But on this occasion, another being who always just says his name is Star came through, and he told the group assembled that he was a star being, but he wasn't dead. He was alive, living in another world, somewhere in the universe, reaching out with his soul to influence the world. Now, that was recorded, and I listened to that when I came out of the trance demonstration, and it utterly flipped my understanding and my awareness of how this stuff works. And that was a very powerful experience for me. I know people may listen and think I've lost the plot, but
no, I don't.
I don't mind. But it was my experience.
Tony, people have been on this podcast, almost all of them, either in the podcast, no, not usually, but afterwards, they will say they had experiences like we're talking about right now. A lot of people are having them now, especially more so, you know?
I think the world seems to be nearing a point of crisis, and I think the other worlds recognize if something goes awry here, it has a major effect upon the universe. Yeah. And so I do believe these beings are real, and I don't feel they should be feared. And then people fixate on the physical outer body of star beings, and that's not the important thing. It's the quality of their soul, these wonderful androgynous soul beings, light beings that have come to share with the earth. I think they're available to us now.
Yes.
And I think we can reach out to them in our minds. And I think they will. Yes. We've just had an experience where we looked at healing, but we tried to attune our minds and frequencies to that of star beings and then present the healing, much like a Reiki treatment, as you've mentioned. But it was off the chart. It was powerful.
What did you talk about? Do you remember anything in particular that you were just like, wow, that really reframes? Because you said it changed a lot of what you thought about things. Is there anything in particular that really reframed something for you?
Well, I think mainly it was that, but the star has come through last week, and I did a public trance demonstration online. And he spoke then about his intention and others' intentions to heal us, and that we might become light manifested whilst incarnate, so we can make a huge difference to the world now. It's like we're all being encouraged to wake up. Yeah. That's what it feels.
Yes. Isn't this the year to do it?
Yeah. And some people have called it like not necessarily like a waking up, but a remembering. And so, like you said in the beginning, your soul knows.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it.
So I didn't say that. Somebody else said that. And I was like, that sounds right. I repeated it in another podcast, but I was just like, she said this. And that really hit me when she said that. It's like a remembering, you know?
You remember. Yeah. Absolutely. Who are we here? Absolutely.
Yes.
I was wondering. So like, you want to go ahead and ask some questions, Misty?
Yeah,
I'd love to hear what you ask. I was just going to ask Tony, would you like to give a demonstration on the podcast? Is that interesting to you at all? Would you like to try that?
I would love to come back to do that. It's 11:30 at night time here.
Oh, it's late. Yeah,
it's late.
It's a date, man. We'll do it.
in my comfy clothes. But if you'd like to invite me back,
I would love it. You are more than welcome to come back anytime. Misty's got a question. We could pick your brain. I'm just so curious. But I'll give the mic to you because I know you've got some good ones.
Okay. So how do you, like, if I wanted to start doing some mediumship myself, how do you even start? What do I do? Where do I go? How do I even start?
A beginner, someone who doesn't understand it. Yeah.
Really. Well, normally we would take you through self-awareness and spiritual development exercises. So invariably that concentrates on mediumship practice, which is to start with meditation.
Yeah,
so I would always
start with. I was going to go there. Yeah,
it's great. Yeah.
Learn to still the mind, because what you're trying to do here is create like a blank canvas in your thoughts. So you're aware, but your human's mind becomes very still. And then it's about setting the intent to allow loved ones that have walked this earth, that belong to those we sit with, to come manifest, to come blend with us. And I would hold you energetically, asking you to still the mind. I'd place a person in front of you that has needs to communicate. And I would ask you to blend with yourself first, your higher self, blend with your recipient, set the intention that others may come. And then I would walk you through very gently, what are you feeling now? Do you feel the sense of somebody who remembers being a lady or a man, older and younger? What is the sense of relationship? And we build very gently these building blocks that help you to identify who you feel. And when we get somewhere and we have some good information, and maybe, for instance, you feel a brother in his 40s for the man you blend with. And if that's correct and true, then we draw our hands to our heart and we learn to channel inspired feelings that really represent the message. So the first part is identification. Second part is the message. How do we feel? What do we feel? This same soul man wants to tell his living brother at this time. And that's how I would kind of stimulate the dormant mediumship that lies in those who are open enough to feel.
Yes.
When you said blend, I've never heard anyone say blend with someone. That makes so much sense to me. I've never heard it put that way, to blend with someone's energy, kind of. Blend with Misty, blend with me, you know, like blending our energy together. But I just never heard anyone put it that way. Maybe it's because I'm in America. But I just love that. That is a really good term to use to explain what it's like, blending. It really is.
Blending.
Manifesting is always... No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm so sorry. I was just saying, really, the blending makes perfect sense, because people who don't really understand mediumship will almost imagine we've got this telephone head or something and voices speaking in that ear.
Yeah.
But for me, it's never been like that. It's an overwhelming feeling that I'm becoming an older man with a gruff voice, with a dog at his side, driving a tractor. And it makes sense because you know it's not you, but suddenly momentarily you feel to say, this is my truth. And then you're asking, did you recognize this man? Sometimes they'll say no, so we'll try again, and someone say, oh my God, that's my dad. And it you know, it's never 100% always correct,
right?
But I have to say, the more you work, the more proficient we become of feeling not just soul beings, but also important soul beings. But there are such days. I was saying to a group again this week that I did a number of one-to-ones this week and last week already. And last week I was on Zoom and I spoke to a nice older couple, maybe my parents' age, maybe in their 70s. And I closed my eyes and I heard myself saying, I have a young lady here. She is your daughter. And those readings I love most, because when I hear myself say something without it sits in my brain, and of course they'd come for their daughter. She just passed. I knew she was 37, and she comes close, a memory of having an epileptic fit and passing. But listen, it was a great reading. But then again, I could do another reading, which I'm sure I've done possibly even yesterday, where it feels so utterly uphill. It's your grandmother, but I'm not really sure what to say about your grandmother. And that always amazes me, because in a day you have the most wonderful communication. And in that same day, it just feels so difficult and so woolly and so hard to make a blend. And I think that's really does...
that makes so much sense to me, Tony. I have the same experience with mediumship. Sometimes it can be within an hour. I'll be like, this connection is here. They're loud and clear, I guess you could say, you know. I understand. For me, it's more of a clairsentience, clairvoyance, and I don't really hear. I just kind of know. Claircognizance, like I just kind of know what they're trying to say. But I see them, like they move. I don't know if you see them, but in my mind's eye, I see them and they kind of move like, they don't move fluidly like we do, you know. I don't know if that's your experience, but I don't hear anything, or even in my mind's ear I don't hear anything, but I get the words, or you know. But you're right, it does take your whole life of practicing, it feels like, and I love it. There's nothing I don't love about it, you know. And there are days where it'll be, you know, 5-minute reading, I am connecting, everything's great, goes on 10 minutes, 15, and then, you know, maybe in the next hour someone comes in, there's someone here, I don't know who they are, and I'm like, well, there's another person here, is this them? Nope. But then eventually somebody will usually come through and explain why these people aren't presenting themselves. For me, a lot of the times they are telling me, not anymore, this is more when I was younger and learning more. They told me that the spirit who the client had come to speak with didn't really trust me. They didn't know if I'd give them the accurate information, so they weren't too sure about communicating with me because they thought I might give the wrong information to my client. So I have been like an uncle instead of the mother might come through with that or something. Has that ever happened to you before?
Oh, I'm sure 100 times.
Yeah.
But what you described is very interesting. This idea of seeing and feeling simultaneously, I think, is how the majority of mediums work.
Yes.
So it's like an overwhelming feeling that the brain pictures. So this idea of clairvoyance, I sometimes struggle to wonder whether in fact it actually is clairvoyance sometimes, or is my brain picturing an overwhelming feeling? And I'm okay with that. I think the language of the soul is multifaceted.
Yeah.
And it comes mainly as a feeling, but sometimes you can taste feeling, smell that feeling, feel that feeling, hear that feeling. So that's interesting. And, you know, as we've already suggested or discussed, sometimes that overwhelming knowingness is vague and on arm's length. And other times it's like a breeze in your face and it's so easy to detect.
Yes. What is, like, for me, when I was younger, I might get into a panic if I'm offering a reading to someone, especially if I were accepting money or gifts or something for it. And I didn't feel like I was connecting. I'd be really hard on myself. So like for a lot of people, I think who are starting into mediumship, they are getting their connection built. They're getting to a point to where they maybe want to give professional readings or maybe strangers readings. And maybe they've done them for their friends for a while and they feel confident, but they still have that fear there. What if I get it wrong? It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not a bad thing if you get it wrong. Most people are not going to be angry, you know, in my opinion, my experience, I'm sorry. But like a lot of newer, younger people, or even people our age we're your age, Gen X, trying to access this. What I see is people are already doing it usually, and they're just realizing it and they're trying to figure out how they're doing it. And just pointing that out helps a lot, but they still don't really understand that that's something other people aren't necessarily doing, you know, it's their experience. So like, I like to try to, when I'm teaching people about mediumship, like how they can do it, I try to really encourage them to let themselves for me, that stage fright kind of thing, like, what if I just mess up everything? What if I make them cry about the wrong thing? What if the what ifs of a medium? So many of us, especially I was like this. So when I am teaching people mediumship, I try to, you know, it's okay if you mess up, you know, it's okay. Most of the time your clients or anyone going to a medium usually is not a skeptic, right? In my experience.
I think you're right.
They understand the process and they understand that sometimes the spirits can, and sometimes the medium's not ready or something. There can be issue there. And they're very understanding. You know, in my situation, like if I'm doing a paid reading and something doesn't happen, I won't charge anybody, you know? So, but I love that you have a really philosophical mind. I feel that in the way you speak, and you seem to think very, like, you feel like your thinking is articulate, is what it sounds like. What would you
about these things? That's why I think
what's the philosophy that you love it? I can tell. I think you do anyway. I feel like you really love the philosophies behind the experiences. You've been doing it so long, it must be. Have you written anything about the philosophies? I'm curious.
Well, I've written 4 books.
Yes, but you have. Yeah. What are your books called?
Well, the first one was called Spirited, and then I wrote a book called Embracing Eternity. And then I wrote another book called Psychic Case Files. That was the work that I was doing with psychic detection. And then
but that was fun.
Walking with Angels after that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I do a lot of work on that level.
That's great.
So that really fascinates me.
I'm getting a book.
Yeah, that and the angels, because I love working with my angels. That's my thing. When did you start working with your angels? Have you always worked with them?
I've always been aware of highly evolved souls, beings beyond our, you know, granny in the spirit world, etc. And I've been very aware. But my angels are non-biblical. You know, they're non-religious.
Right.
Right.
Mine are too. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
I totally agree.
The spiritual world for the newcomer is so utterly confusing, I think. So I desperately try to keep it as regular and as ordinary as possible. But there is so many wonderful dimensions to the work. And it becomes such a life investigating what next. How do I get there? How do I communicate? How can I, make this real for other people, but in a way that you don't feel under pressure. You've already said this, of course, but you have everything we give, we share. We're just sharing our feelings, sharing the knowing that's in the hope that people will be gentle enough to accept our information at times.
I love that.
Yeah.
So on the detective work that you did, I mean, how fun was that? I mean, I'm not going to say fun. I'm going to say how interesting was that? I mean, to be able to help solve cases has got to be something that you feel, gosh, complete about after you do it and you figure out what's going on, right?
Yeah. And the thing with detection, some cases that live with me, I've been working on for years.
That's what I'd be worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't constantly think about them, but weekly I may review my mind and see what's coming in, what's new, because that's the thing. I think a lot of detective cases we already know the answer on a heart level, but then we're waiting for that to be stimulated so we can know that same thing on a human level, and sometimes that weeks, months, or years for that awareness to bubble up into our consciousness.
Right.
And so I've got cases that I've been working on for 20-something years.
Oh.
I've had cases I've worked with on just an afternoon, and I'm able to present my findings really fast, really quickly. And other cases are so tangly and multifaceted that it just takes a long time for the awareness to come close. But
their energy block their info, like the bad guys say, they have energy work too. They can block their energy signatures, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I do understand entirely. And the cases we invariably work on are the complicated ones because they've not been solved by regular means. They stay cold because so much of the detail around that case is so perplexing, and then we're invited in. So we don't get necessarily the easy cases. We get the most difficult cases to work with.
Because they can't solve them. Yeah.
They're
like, it's kind of like they talked about it as being like a last resort in some cases, and then they start bringing this, like, after they have learned that they can get help from a reader, a psychic, or a medium, then they will not think of it as a last case resort, or last resort to go to a psychic. But after they do it and it works, that's not the last resort. They'll be like, well, I'm going to call them if I'm stuck, like now instead of wait. Right. Yeah. I've never done any work like that because of what you just said, that stuff staying with me. I think it would. Yeah. I don't know if I could just let it go.
Yeah, I couldn't. There's no way. It takes a special kind of person, and you've got that talent.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Yeah. Well, also something you do, but you balance it. So I might do a case for detection, and I might do another demonstration. I might do 4 readings, teach a class, another detection. So you're not constantly doing the same thing. So you can keep yourself lighter than if you were just utterly immersed in detective case after detective case. I think that would make it feel very hard.
Yes. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yes. Yeah. No doubt. Well, good for you. I'm glad that you have used your talents to do that. That's awesome. Good for you. That's a good thing to do. It is.
It sounds like you help a lot of people in all kinds of ways. And in the letter, when we were arranging the podcast, my favorite part that I read about you was that you are very invested in helping people learn these skills. And that's what this podcast is like. That's what we do here. It's like we want people to really realize they can and try if they aren't. And people who like this stuff, we've had a lot of guests. We've probably had over 200 guests, and we learn something from every single one, just like we're learning from you. And everybody who listens does too. So, I mean, I think it's just great that there's so many people now, because all the people who come on the podcast say yes, but yes, we're all psychic. Most of them say, but we're not awake, or we're not in tune, or we're not turning the dial. Some people use the dial, metaphor. You aren't tuned into the right frequency, they'll say. And you're right. There are so many facets to it that it's just incredible. We could explore it forever. And Tony, I would love to invite you back anytime and come back and explore some like more of the philosophies with us. I would love that because I can tell we could go pretty deep if we wanted to. And speaking of deep, where can the listeners find you so that they can get deep with you?
Just my name, TonyStockwell.com. TonyStockwell.com.
And listeners, I'll put his information in the description of the podcast, and you can find him. And wow, your energy is just very calm, and it's just
it is, isn't it?
Pushed out, it's not pushed out at us. Like
very calm,
very gentle. But when I feel it, it's like this light heart, like really light heart, and a really light feeling all through here for me, Tony. It just feels, your energy feels good to me. But it feels like you don't like to push it out on people. Like they can come sample it, but you're not projecting out anything to change anybody's moods. Is what it feels like. You're very careful about that. I like that. It's hard to do.
Well, I appreciate speaking to. Well, yeah, you do it long enough, and you just realize, just take it easy. People have got to be free to make their own minds up.
Yes. A lot of people don't feel like they can. They are free to make up their own minds. I used to feel that way about a lot of things, but the more it is spiritual exploration to say to myself, I have more power over my life than my excuses allow me, if you can put it that way. At this point, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app where you can get advice from psychics and empaths so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And Tony, just to wrap this up, you must come back. We will haunt you if we die. We will spam you. I'm just kidding. But if you had any advice to give to the listeners about their soul, like how to feel their soul, how to really know that they are a soul in there, and they are a soul ultimately, like to feel that soul. Do you have any advice?
Sure, I do. I think daily, make it part of your ritual to give yourself 10 minutes just to be still. Setting the intention, your own power will rise, taking precedent over your human self. Breathe, gaze out on something easy that doesn't stimulate, and you'll start to feel a power rising within you. And that's transformative. Life never is the same again when you become manifest in the world. And you do it very simply, 10 minutes a day, allowing your higher self to rise.
That's beautiful.
I do love that.
I love it, Tony. Thank you so much for coming on. And I really, really hope you'll come back and talk some more, maybe do some demonstrations and stuff. And Misty, you have any last questions or anything you would like to?
I love the way you use the word manifest. It's awesome.
I love it too.
I love it.
The blending.
Yes. Manifest is just that's my thing. I love it.
And you're welcome back anytime. And I guess thank you, Misty. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you, listeners. We love you so much.
Yes,
as always. And we are blowing kisses to England, to Hartsville, to all the listeners. Kisses being blown. Mwah. Psychic kisses, because we're all sick. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great time wherever you may be. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.